Another type of connective tissue is cartilage. Cartilage is dense. It's considered to be a firm gel. That matrix is a firm gel. Well, the cells, the chondrocytes, must live inside that firm gel, so there are little cavities within the matrix called lacunae, in which the chondrocytes live. Perichondrium separates cartilage from surrounding tissue. There are 3 types of cartilage. Hyaline cartilage covers the end of our nose. It's found between our ribs and sternum, and it covers the bones in joints to reduce friction. Elastic cartilage is our outer ear, so if you were to bend your outer ear and bend your nose, you'll notice the outer ear is much more elastic because it is elastic cartilage. Fibrous cartilage is denser. It resists compression. So this is found in our knees. It's between the pubic bones of the pelvis in front, the pubic symphysis, and in the intervertebral discs. This fibrous cartilage prevents bone-to-bone contact. You need to be able to visually identify and distinguish your different cartilages. Osseous is bone tissue. Os means bone. The bony matrix is mostly calcium salts, and that provides strength, but it's quite rigid, so it also contains collagen fibers, which give some flexibility to bone. In comparing cartilage and bone, both support and protect, but cartilage is avascular and bone is vascular. This means cartilage heals slower than bone. This is identifying the different structures of a long bone, basically to see the vascularity of the bone. So when you're looking at a picture like this, we see the cross-section through the bone, and this is what it looks like. This is what you would see with your eyes. And then you would take a pie-shaped piece of this bone, that's compact bone, and you'd see that this pie-shaped bone is made of circular structures called osteons, and through the center of each circular structure are arteries and veins. Those circular structures we just saw are called osteons. The arteries and veins run up through the central canal. The cells in bone are called osteocytes, and they connect to each other by little canals called canaliculi. These are cytoplasmic connections that run from one cell to another cell. The bone is surrounded by a membrane called periosteum. The outer layer is for attachments. So bone can attach to other bones by ligaments, or bone can attach to muscle by tendons. Anytime there's an attachment to the bone grows there. You see an attachment site. The intercellular layer allows for growth of the bone. Pause here to read through this. You were introduced to membranes in an earlier chapter. If you recall, the membranes of our abdominal cavity are the peritoneum. The membranes of our thoracic cavity are the pleura. Membranes line or cover body surfaces, and membranes consist of epithelium as well as connective tissue. There are 4 types of membranes. Mucous membranes line cavities that open to the outside. They must be kept moist. So think about the openings of your mouth, the openings of your nose, the vagina, the anus, the urethra. All of these are pink, moist tissues that are kept lubricated by mucus. Serous membranes line cavities that do not open to the outside. It is mesothelium supported by areolar connective tissue. These 3 types of membranes are the pleura, the peritoneum, and the pericardium. The third membrane is the cutaneous membrane, or the skin. It covers the surface of our body and is thick and waterproof and dry. It's a barrier. And the fourth type of membrane are synovial membranes. Synovial membranes line movable joints, such as your elbow and your knee. It produces synovial fluid, which lubricates and reduces friction during movement. Fascia are connective tissue layers and wrappings. They support and surround organs. There are three types of fascia. Superficial fascia is under the skin. It consists of areolar and adipose tissue. Deep fascia is continuous with capsules, ligaments, and other connective tissue structures, and consists of dense, irregular connective tissue. And subserous fascia, made up entirely of areolar tissue, is between the serous membrane and the deep fascia. The muscle tissue category is slightly easier. There's only three types of muscle tissue. But the muscle consists of 50% of our weight is muscle tissue. There are three types of muscle tissue: skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, and smooth muscle. We'll look at each type of muscle tissue. All muscle tissue functions involve movement. So the one word that you could say that muscle tissues do is contract. They move the body, that would be skeletal muscles. They move the blood around the cardiovascular system, that would be smooth muscle tissue. They move materials along the digestive tract, the smooth muscle tissue. I guess the movement of blood around the cardiovascular system. I was thinking the smooth tissue is that the smooth muscle surrounds those arteries and can contract, but the heart itself is cardiac muscle tissue. Skeletal muscle tissue is found in skeletal muscles. The cells are very different from the other types of muscle tissue. They're very long cells, they're multinucleated, and they are striped or striated. They function to move the skeleton, to guard organ entrances for digestive, respiratory, and urinary system. They generate heat and protect internal organs. Cardiac muscles only in the heart. The cells are short and branched. You'll notice when you look at a picture of skeleton of cardiac tissue, you will see these special connections between cells called intercalated discs. Smooth muscles found throughout the body in walls of hollow organs. They're spindle-shaped, non-striated with a single nucleus. Functions include moving food, urine, and reproductive secretions, and controlling the diameter of respiratory passageways and blood vessels. So in terms of identifying differences between the different muscle types, at the top will be very long cells. You can't see the ends of the cells. This is one cell. This is one cell. They're striped or striated, and you can see nuclei. They are multinucleated. Cardiac muscle cells have branches, as well as these darker intercalated discs that join one cell to the next. And smooth muscle is spindle-shaped. The correct answer here is A, vascular. The last type of tissue is easy. It's nervous tissue, and it's specialized for conduction of electrical impulses. Most of our nervous tissue, neural tissue, is found in the brain and spinal cord, and there are two basic types of cell. The cell that conducts the impulses is the neuron. The support cells are neuroglia or glial cells. The neurons transfer information around the body and process the information, such as the conscious and unconscious thought in the brain. They vary in size and shape, but they can be very, very long, up to 1 meter. That neuron may go from your toes all the way up to the spine, would be one neuron. You need to know your neuron structure. It consists of a cell body. The dendrites are branch off that cell body, and they receive the information. And the axon conducts information away from the cell body. An axon is also called a nerve fiber. Most neurons cannot reproduce. The neuroglia have a variety of different shapes and functions. They maintain the physical structure of neural tissue. They help support it. They're important in repair after injury. They perform phagocytosis. They provide nutrients. And they regulate the composition of the interstitial fluid surrounding the neuron. The correct answer here is glia. As you recall, organs are made up of different types of tissue, and damage to an organ can affect many different tissues, and these all have to heal in their own particular way. Each tissue has the ability to regenerate, such as epithelial, connective, and smooth muscle regenerate well, but other muscle types and neural tissue regenerate very poorly, if at all. Some do not replace damaged tissue. Scar tissue replaces tissues that do not regenerate. An injury is an exposure to a pathogen or toxin. This stimulates a certain cell to release substances that will cause inflammation. The mast cell will release histamine and heparin. Inflammation occurs, and you're familiar with those symptoms of redness, warmth, swelling, and pain. And this leads to an increased movement of blood to the area so that phagocytes can go to the area, oxygen and nutrients can go to the area, and toxins and wastes are removed. During regeneration, repair occurs after the tissue has been stabilized and the inflammation ends, and fibroblasts will secrete collagen fibers to stabilize the area. If the wound is shallow, the area is gradually remodeled and forms perfect new skin, for example, that's completely functional. But if the wound is too deep, those collagen fibers form a scar tissue.